Hello everyone, welcome to CA Gangadhar Reddy, your trusted destination for practical learning in GST, income tax, company law, accounting, and financial reporting in DAS and finance. It simplifies complex laws into practical knowledge understanding. Today, the topic is our one of the most important GST provision, that is the RCM, reverse charge mechanism. Whether you are a CA student, accountant, finance manager, GST practitioner, or business owner, or someone preparing for professional examinations, this season will help you to build a strong understanding of GST from the both a prospective, practical, and the compliance perspective. By end of the season, you will understand when RCM applies, who will liable to pay RCM, how to claim GST credit, documentation requirement, compliance procedures, recent amendments, and whatnot. The common mistakes of that lead to GST notices. Before we begin, here's a quick question for you. Can a registered person be liable to pay GST even if the supplier does not charge GST on the invoice? If the answer is yes, yes, you are on the right track. If you are unsure or your answer is no, stay with me until the end, because by end of the season we will complete a clarity on reverse charge mechanism under GST. Let's begin with the basics. What is reverse charge mechanism? Why was it introduced? And in which situations does it apply under CGST and IGST provisions? What is reverse charge mechanism? Under normal GST, supplier will able to pay GST under RCM. Supplier will able to pay GST under RCM. So in this situation, generally supplier collects GST from buyer and pay to the government. Under reverse charge mechanism, buyer it means service recipient pays GST directly to the government. The supplier does not collect and pay that portion of GST to the government, because uh, there are few mechanisms. This is a fundamental reversal of normal GST mechanism. That is why we call it as reverse charge mechanism. In normal charge, supplier registered and collects and pays the GST, and in the recipient, the buyer pays the price. Say suppose your invoice value is 1 lakh, and the GST on that it 18%. 18%. So they collect that amount 18,000 and pays to the government. So that is how it works under normal mechanism. But in GST, in under reverse charge mechanism, the supplier does not charge GST at all. First of all, so the supplier will not charge GST. The buyer pays directly to the government. Why it is? Because gor, gor, under reverse charge mechanism, there are few conditions way to apply and how to apply. So I hope you understand the reverse charge concept of it, because the supplier will not collect tax from you. Uh, on those situations, few notifications or few notified services, recipient himself, if it is a registered recipient or unregistered recipient, and he has to take the registration or not, I will tell you. And if you observe this, there are notified supplies under RCM. I mean, there are few services we need to pay GST under the charge mechanism. See, these are the services notified by the government under Section 9, Subsection 3, where we need to pay GST under RCM. See, if you see goods transport agency, I have prepared a separate slide on this concept, but I just to explain the concept now. What are the services covered under the RCM and how it will be? See, under the RCM, you need to pay the GST for GST for these services. Supplier is GST transporter, of course. GTA, you know, right? The goods transport agency, where transport only goods and from one place to another place, to carry, to transport, or to facilitate those kind of services to us. So recipient would be either factory, company, or registered person. If it is an unregistered person, if it is not a factory or company, in these situations, the GST itself is exempt. Exempt category or below the threshold limit, that we will see in a separate folder, separate PPT. Now the GST rate is 5% or 12%. That I will explain the next slides. So and right now we have to understand, for if it is a GTA service, in that case supplier has to be GTA transporter. In those situations, if that supply providing to that recipient of factory or company or registered person, in those situations these recipients has to pay GST irrespective of the whether GST GTA as registered or not. So this is how it works. And then legal services by the advocate. Supplier should be a firm or company, but any business entity. If it is a non-business entity, that is exempt, that is exempt under GST. There is a separate GST concept under RCM. If any legal services by advocate as an individual advocate or in firm or in legal firms, that would be uh, if the recipient is a business entity, it is chargeable under GST under RCM. So recipient, the business entity, say suppose one law firm is there, that law firm charges fee 2 lakhs to the client for for the services they provided. For on that 36,000 GST has to pay under RCM by that recipient. Okay. And then services provided by the director to its company as in directorship, not on the salary basis. If it is a director individual, if you pay the sitting fees and something to the director, so recipient has to pay under RCM. Then import of services. For generally, if you import any goods or services from outside, from outside the India, for services you are receiving, the registered person in India should be pay as per uh, RCM under the applicable rates. So the rates should be applicable based on the which service you are importing. And then sponsorship services. Say suppose any person can able to any supply sponsorship service means I can able to promote your product or something, your brands, and through any jerseys or something, the IPL sponsors or football players. So many players, so many sponsor celebrities are there to provide these kind of services. So these kind of sponsorship services, that providing the supplier will not charge the GST. So that so recipient has to pay to the government. And the insurance agent services, recovery agent services, government or local authority services, all these kind of services. Say suppose municipal corporation leans land to the company, then company pays to the GST under RCM. See why? Because under these situations, the TA, legal professionals and the import of services directors, we can't able to find these guys to get a charge for the government. So for government, it would be a lot of work involved instead of that, they they introduced this mechanism to take GST on these services through the recipient. Anyways, recipient will able to get the input tax credit by this taxes if it is an eligible input credit. So this is the one few list. And the another list is security personal services. If any individual or firm or partnership from a non-corporate body, non-corporate services. So if it is in security services provided by a corporate body and body corporate, that would be chargeable under the forward charge mechanism, not under reverse charge mechanism. But if that security services is by the individual HUF or partnership firm, so that is covered under the RCM. So that the business body or registered persons has to pay under the RCM. And then renting of motor vehicle at less than 13 seats, whereas supplier should be unregistered or small operator. If it isn't registered, it is in the forward charge. If it is an unregistered, it would be under the RCM. And then cashew nuts, initial like agriculture or a agriculturalist or any farmers is able to provide these cashews or nuts to the registered person, the 5% has to be charged under the RCM. And then silk yarn, you manufacture or some kind of silk producers, if they provide suppliers to the registered person, that would be also chargeable under the RCM at 5% rate. And then raw cotton means this cotton the agriculturist or farmer provided this cotton goods to the registered person, it would be chargeable under the 5%. And then online gaming by offshore supplier. Offshore supplier means generally they sat in foreign countries and outside India and able to providing this kind of online gaming culture. Say suppose Rummy, else any few games, online games are, right? So in those situations, Indian player or platform. Say suppose I am able to uh, playing that platform on the foreign gaming. In that case, that Indian platform or Indian player has to pay uh, GST under RCM at 28%, because these services are chargeable at 28 percentage. So those has to pay under 28%. And then developer or sedge developer renting land, this is also covered under the RCM. And then author, any royalties or any kind of authors who provide services on the royalty basis, that is also covered under the RCM but chargeable under 12 percentage. So these are the situations or services or goods provided by the GST councils and the amendments and the act to pay services under the RCM. So I hope you understand which services are covered under the RCM. You can take screenshots on these slides so that you can able to record this in your future reference. So the next thing is like RCM on purchase and registered supplier, unregistered supplier. This is the important concept under the RCM, which is not, uh, I mean, which is suppose it is suspended for time being, but it is one of the most important concept why RCM is introduced, because the government can't able to go for unregistered persons to collect the GST for the services which is eligible to collect GST. In those situations, RCM has introduced, I already explained. Now they try to cover all unregistered persons. See, under section 9 subsection 4, any registered person purchasing any goods or services, any kind of goods or services, nothing, from unregistered person, that supplier must pay GST under RCM. Okay, in those situations, the recipient has to pay the supply under RCM. Even now it has been suspended, but it is applicable only to e-commerce business and the real estate agency. Under this section 4, all unregistered persons has to all purchase from unregistered person has to liable under RCM. Use compliance burden on the registered persons, and under this concept. Because of this, on October 17th, they have suspended this class for all supplies except uh, e-commerce and any other businesses notified by the government. And now it is applies to notified persons only. Earlier it was applied to all unregistered persons. Now it is applied to notified persons. Currently there are only two services they are introduced who will able to pay, which is real estate business. If any builder or somebody or any subcontractor, if you buy cement or bricks or sand or something, some from unregistered local suppliers, then in those situations you need to pay the local GST. Say suppose, see the example, the builder who is registered buys cement or bricks for the worth of 10 lakhs. In this situation GST is 18 28% on those services. So you need to pay on 2 lakh 80,000 by builder under RCM to the government. This is the uh, because the real estate business has introduced in the RCM now. And then e-commerce, the act itself didn't give suspension on this e-commerce business. So even Flipkart or e-com operators facilitate services by unregistered seller for sale of their worth. On those worth, you need to pay you need to pay GST to the government for the specified rate what they mentioned. And then most of the business apart from this real estate agent or real estate business or subcontractor or e-commerce holder, you can do the business with the unregistered dealers. On that you don't need to pay at time being, because it is old under the RCM. As of now it has been suspended for general businesses. But if in future, if the government come and asked to collect the GST, that will be used burden to the registered persons, because he has to track every unregistered person there. So generally, right, who are the e-commerce operators? The Swiggy, Zomato, Ovo, Uber. These guys are the e-commerce operators. And then now I'm trying to explain GTA as a suppressor, because there is an in RCM there is few concepts are complicated. This is one of the complicated concept is GTA, the Goods Transport Agency. When does RCM applies to GTA? If then RCM applies to GTA when recipient, if the recipient is for factory, society, cooperative society registered under the GST, these persons, because GTA providing services to these persons, body corporator, partnership firm, or casual taxable persons. I will explain who are the casual taxable person and all. I have under these situations, every uh, service covered under the RCM. If he opt for the default condition, so he didn't opt for the forward charge mechanism. So GTA, the Goods Transport Agency, say suppose the transport agency says Navata Transport. The Navata Transport opted for the option one, like he don't want to pay GST on the forward charge. He opted every financial year. He has to opted once before the financial year started in a prescribed declaration whether uh, GTA can exercise. I mean, can operate that year business and forward charge mechanism or reverse charge mechanism. If GTA opt on the forward charge mechanism, in that if DG doesn't opt for the forward charge mechanism, in that case, all these service receivers has to pay GST under RCM. So then the services taken, I mean, the purchases made by the GTA, Good Transport Agency, didn't get any credit because he is providing non-exempt service. I mean, he is providing exempt services to the government, so you can't able to get an ITC. So no ITC to the GTA if we opt for the reverse charge mechanism. Say suppose if we opt forward charge mechanism, if we opt for the forward charge mechanism, he collects 12% from these guys and pays to the government. Then in those situations, if the GTA opt for the forward charge mechanism, these guys, the recipients, don't need to pay the GST under RCM because GTA has opted forward charge mechanism. In third case where it is applicable, generally recipient is individual and non-business guys, the reverse charge mechanism. And in this situation, these services are exempt in nature. So because if the service is provided to the individual or non-business guys, we don't need to pay the RCM because these are not unregistered persons. In this situation, if the limit is less than 50,000, 1,500, it would be exempt. If the limit is more than 1,500, it would be chargeable. That is also the chargeability based on the his options. If we opt for the reverse charge mechanism, nothing will apply, no GST will collect and no GST pay under RCM. If we opt for the forward charge mechanism, he will charge 12% on you. Also, if your worth of the transport fee is more than 1,500 or prescribed limit as per the GST Act. Say suppose the auto parts company hires GTA for 2 lakhs freight. So he has provided few freight charges, and then on this, say suppose if we opt for the no forward charge mechanism, under he is not charging GST. So in that case, option one applicable for us. So on default case, 5% RCM has to pay. The auto company pays 5% RCM to the government, and auto parts company claims 10,000, the 5% of that 2 lakhs, that 10,000 to the ITC as an ITC as eligible input tax holder. I hope you understand this. And then ITC and RCM. Generally, you have to pay ITC, RC, GST under RCM and pay on a cash basis. So you cannot pay through your credit ledger. You have to pay uh, cash by cash only, because even though if you have crores of input tax credit, you cannot set off that credit to the RCM liability for the particular month. You have to pay that RCM to the government in cash only, in your RCM liability the first month, and the second month onwards, I mean, whenever the liability comes, that has to pay in the cash that will accumulate in the ITC credit. you can utilize that credit from your own services. So the ITC is available for the same period, and you have to pop up in the G3B, and you have to do the self invoice for the services. And the time limit is for the next 30th November of the next financial year. You need to claim that ITC credit. Now, from this year, from 25-26, the auto populated RCM input also coming from under the GST through e-invoice system. So you can easily track now. See, you see the practical example. Say suppose ABC hires one goods transport agency to deliver these goods. So the GTF rate is 5 lakhs. So say suppose assume these guys has uh, didn't opt for forward mechanism. Then we have to the ABC Limited has to pay GST under 5% on the freight charges. That is the amount is 25,000. This has to do the self invoice first, and then because the service is in the October, right? So by 31st October we need to give the self invoice, and we need to pay that pay that 25,000 to the government, because the GST is 25% on it. And then in GST 3B, you need to report 25,000 under the table D where RCM liability. You need to pay that, and pay that 25,000 to the cash ledger first, and then ITC available 25,000 in 3B 4A ledger one. Now you have paid it, right? It will eligible now to the your services. See, ABC, the self invoice is there. The cash paid is 25,000, ITC received is 25,000. The net cat impact is zero, because if you were in the particular month of October, if your regular sales are 2 lakhs, sorry, if your regular sales are 5 lakhs, if you calculate GST, regular GST on that 5 lakhs, it would be, say, suppose it is an 18% covered, so it will come under, it will come 90,000. Out of this 90,000 your regular liability, you can set off this 25,000 paid under RCM. So balance 65,000 only you have to pay to the government. So under RCM it is not burden to the recipient, because as input tax credit for eligible services, not for the all services. If it is in cab service, then it is subject to discussion then again. And then RCM compliance. We has to give under RCM. You need to do the self invoicing, and also report those ledgers in the GSTR 1, and then GSTR 3B and Form 3B. Now you see that any supplier where recipient is liable to pay under RCM, they have to create self invoice. When is self-insurance required? If the question is comes now, if any supply where recipient is liable to pay under RCM, in those situation, the recipient has to give the self-invoice. These are the invoice details where they has to mention name and address of the recipient, date of the invoice, description of the goods, value, and supplier name and address. Even if unregistered also, you need to mention these details for the invoice. And then on date of supply, you need to do the self invoice. By 11th, you need to report in the GSTR 1, and then by 20th, you need to pay GST. And the same month, you can pay, you can eligible as ITC if you already paid in the previous report, and then you can claim that ITC by next 30th November. See, if the invoice supplies on which, yeah, and if you see the next slide, import of services, this is also one of the important concept under RCM. So if you import any goods or services from outside the India, you need, if it is in goods, it would be in customs. You can collect countervailing duty. But in GST, I mean, if it is in services, you can't able to track that service, because in customs uh, you can find that good is coming to India from from outside countries. But if service, it is impossible. In that case, the recipient isn't liable to pay under GSM RCM. Then the government is easily tracking those services. Say suppose example, if Indian IT company pays $50,000 to the Amazon AWS for cloud hosting, in the situations, if you convert that with the foreign rates, the 18% has to pay by Indian company. And then software license also. If you import any software license or ERP from the foreigners, still, and then any online advertising, this is also you need to pay. And if any consulting or professionals from pharma companies or any legal services or any royalties from foreign clients, if you get any service from this any service from outside country, you need to pay RCM. So I have given few examples for your understanding. You can take a screenshot and read by your own. And then what are the penalties interest under the what are the 2026 updates? See, these are the few penalties, and if you are non-payment of RCM under these sections, you will be chargeable under 18% and all. And then if you are late fee, again 18%, no issues on self, non-issue of then self-invest 10,000 or tax evaded or ITC claimed without payment, again it would be 18%. And time barred ITC permanently lost. If you are not able to claim these input tax credit by the next 30th November, you will not able to get that credit in future. This is permanently lost. So can't claim in the subsequent year. And then if it is any mismatch and all, you should be liable to answerable I mean you should be answerable to the departments if it is any mismatch in the returns. So all these are the non-compliance impacts to the entity or registered person under RCM. And what are the key updates? The gaming companies RCM is 28%. Earlier it was normal rate, now it is charged to 28% now. And then GTA also, the annual forward charge mechanism has introduced for GTA. And real estates, I already informed that real estate business, if even though if irrespective of the service, if you get any goods or services from unregistered person, you need to pay GST under RCM. And then RCM scheme and ITC also available for the next 30 years. And then auto-populated and RCM. This already informed you, right? Through invoice system, your auto-populated RCM liability is coming now. Now you can able to easily mismatch the errors from your actual services to books and all. Invoice for the self. This has been introduced. This is mandatory for all taxable prices. GST portal has been updated now. You have to introduce this services. And the compulsory registration. If you are an I mean if you receive any taxable services under RCM, if you haven't doubted, if you are unregistered person and doing business with unregistered persons, but the services covered under the RCM, then the doubt will come, will I need to register or not? The question is still litigation point of view. I will clear here. First we'll see this. Persons liable under RCM applies to the recipient required to pay under the GST. I mean under section 9(3) or 9(4) you need to pay GST under RCM. In those situations your threshold limit is nil, even though even RCM transactions triggers it. In that case the registration is mandatory. See, under section 24 there are some mandatory categories you need to register under the GST, even though your threshold limit is less than your your turnover, taxable turnover is less than the threshold for the registration requirement. That this section 24 overrides those normal registration threshold, because if you are covered under the RCM, in that case one of the concept is person liable under RCM. In that, even though your threshold limit is less than the taxable turnover mentioned in the registration sections, still you need to register under GST to pay the RCM. But before you read the section 24, you need to take the uh, notes on the section 23. What section 23 says under GST, these persons no need to get the registration even though they trigger under the RCM or compulsory or section 24. See, persons only supplying exempt goods or services or agriculturist supplying produce or cultivation of land, or any persons liable to pay by the government services. These situations, even though they trigger under the RCM, say suppose the person only exclusively provide exempt services, say suppose the hospitals or trusts or any unregistered persons. I mean, the person who provides services only exempted services. Say suppose, take an example, hospital. Generally, hospital services are exempt if they charge nominal wages, or educational services also exempt. So if they take, I mean, if they take GTA, goods transport services to them, because under GTA rule, if you services provided to the corporate or body corporate, in those situation you need to pay under uh, GST under RCM. For that you need to register under this section 24. But section 23 says if you are providing these goods or services are only exempted, or persons exclusively providing exempt services, you don't need to get a registration for the RCM purpose, even though your taxable turnover is increase the threshold limit. So these two sessions are litigation point of view. As of now, it is still under course, but recently government clarified that if you covered, I mean, your attached output, your output taxable services, I mean, your outward services are not uh, taxable, and you don't need to get the registration under the threshold limit, even though your threshold limit is less than the your taxable turnover is less than the threshold limit. In those case, I mean, you are providing exclusively exempt services. In those cases, you don't need to get a registration. But Kerala AAR, I mean, in Kerala AAR, they took a different strategy. Even they ignored the session that 23 separately. I mean, they ignored session 23, and they suggested to take a registration under the session 24. So my suggestion is better to take a registration under RCM. If you get any RCM service recipient. So these are the categories. So under section 24, if you are an interstate taxable person or casual taxable person means a person occasionally supplying in a state or any United Territory who has no fixed place of business. Still, if your threshold limit is less than 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs or 40 lakhs based on the limits, still you need to get the registration. These are the mandatory registration classes. The non-resident taxable person, if a non-resident taxable person provides any services in India, if it is a taxable service, then he has to register irrespective of its threshold limit and TDS deductor. I mean, right? Few sections, government departments has to take a GST register. I mean, direct the TDS under the GST law also. If you are TDS director under that sections, you need to take registration with respect of your turnover limits, and then agent of the registered person principal. All the situations, and there are few other additional sections also. The input service distributor and e-commerce operator and the OIDR services. All these services service recipients, irrespective of their turnover, they need to take the registration. And then this is a quick revision. What is the RCM and where notified the suppliers? These are the notified suppliers, and how unregistered persons is kept old till now. So this has been suspended for time being. And then GTA, most common RCM, and then why RCM? RCM has to pay in cash only, and the self-invoice is mandatory. Importer services always RCM. These are the important triggers we need to take away. And then yeah, that's it, guys. So I hope you understand the concept. One second. If you find this session useful, please like this video, share it to your colleagues and friends, and subscribe to CA Gangadhar Reddy channel for more practical discussions on GST, income tax, and NDAS and finance. Don't forget to press the notification bell so that you never miss out latest updates. Thank you, guys.